Hi guys, Tim again with Southern Exposure. Welcome to another episode. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to cut up some more lumber. I got to cut up some 4x4 material and try and get as many 2x4s as I can out of it. I think the lumber we're going to be using here is it's old, it's extremely dried out. It's got some really good tight grain, so that's going to make for some very structurally sound 2x and 4x material. So with that said, let me go ahead and show you what the lumber profile looks like, the log profile looks like, and let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, this log right here that we're going to end up cutting on has some really tight grain down here on the butt end. This is the big end, and that small end, it's roughly about 10 inches in diameter on this end and 9 inches on the other end. There isn't a whole lot of taper in it. This log's about 8.5 feet long. As you can see right here, we have some fat lighter right here coming down through it, extremely tight grain. Even the juvenile wood in this is extremely tight grain. I wouldn't say it's more than 1/8 of an inch between each one of the rings. So this is going to make some really, really good, strong lumber out of this right here. Let me show you the other one. So with that said, we got an entire deck here of 12-foot material we have to get cut up. This log once again has extremely tight grain in it. The juvenile wood, in fact, you can probably, the easiest way to see the juvenile is through the paint right here. And juvenile isn't that big. You can see the juvenile wood in this one. It's roughly around 2 inches in diameter, 2 to 3 inches in diameter. And that log right there, 12 foot, and it's roughly around 11 to 12 inches in diameter. So with that said, we got some good dry, straight logs to cut out of. So that shouldn't give us that big of any hard times. A red-headed woodpecker over yonder. Anyway, so with that said, the reason why we haven't had that many videos brought out is because of the fact that we've had a lot of storms coming through here, tropical depressions and stuff coming through this area. It has knocked out internet for us. And internet for us, we live out in the middle of nowhere, okay? Trying to get internet out here is rough. It's rough, to say the least. And cell service is almost non-existent out here. And on top of that, heck, I can take you to places out here you can't even get AM, FM radio. So with that said, CBs is probably the easiest means of communication in this area that I'm in. If anybody remembers CBs from the 70s and the 80s, that was a big deal back then. But anyway, all right, so with that said, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Let's start cutting this lumber up and start stacking it up. So why don't you go ahead and kick back, relax, grab yourself a glass of sweet tea, and take in a little bit of Southern Exposure. Okay, now that we got some of this stuff cut up, let's go ahead and take a look at this grain structure inside of this log that we got here. It's pretty impressive for free. Once again, this is just a free log, another one that was picked up on the side of the road. As you can see, there is a lot of denim inside of it. The grain structure is extremely tight. Not that many knots in this log. It's very smooth cutting. And it's extremely dry right now. Let's go ahead and look and see how dry this thing really is. 13.6%. Not too bad at all. Okay, so at 13+%, that really isn't that bad, especially for a log that's been sitting out in the weather. So with this log being as dry as it is, you could actually start working with it right now. Minimal air drying required, minimal kiln time required. After all the stuff that you end up buying inside of the big box stores, it's roughly going to be about the same, if not worse. Especially if you end up going to buy pressure treated lumber over there at the big box stores, that stuff is saturated with water. And after about 4 months of it being used, it'll actually shrink up quite a bit. So it's almost like putting straight green lumber on whatever you're working with. So with that said, let's go ahead and roll this thing over and start cutting off the other side. Okay, so as you can see, we ended up getting 4 2x4s out of that 12-foot log, and the other one we ended up getting 2 4x4s. So 4 2x4s, 2 4x4s out of free logs that were on the side of the road. All we had to do was just go pick them up. So let me show you something else. Okay, some people may end up saying, why would you spray paint the ends of your logs? Well, the entire reason is because anybody who's ever had to dig through a stack of stickered lumber trying to find a specific length to sell to somebody, because whenever I end up packaging the lumber, I end up packaging it by species and dimension. So like these 2x4s right here will end up getting banded up as a group of pine 2x4s. Those 4x4s will end up getting banded up as pine 4x4s. I don't go by nominal length. The reason for it is because I don't have the time to sit there and pull the tape measure out every time. So having to dig through a stack of lumber, the easiest way to do it is to just look for a color code. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So I do apologize for the lighting if you can't see it. I do apologize. But I end up spray painting the end of the log. The reason for it is because whenever you end up cutting it out, you end up getting crisp, smooth edges with the paint just on the ends. Versus if you don't paint it and you end up cutting the lumber, then you're going to get it all over the face of the lumber. Some people don't like that, some people do. But I like good, crisp, clean ends. As you can see, these 2x4s were the ones that we just cut. Anyway, the grain on them is great. A good structural, straight, solid, tight grain. And the 4x4s are the same way. So all the lumber I'm going to end up getting out of these 12-foot logs that I have right here, I'm going to end up taking and using some of that for some of the projects that are here, and I'm going to give some of it away to a family not too far from here that had a lot of storm damage from the tropical storm that came through not too long ago. So with that said, I got to get this pile of refuse burned. A lot of this is stuff that ended up coming from this last storm that came through, and I got to start getting prepared for the next one that's coming through. So with that said, I hope this video has been educational. I hope it has helped you in some kind of way. And do us a favor here and go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. We really do appreciate it, and we really do appreciate you and all the 300 plus subscribers we have right now. So with that said, God bless.